So that puts us in the right mindset. What do we need to do to be in the right mindset, and how financial literacy can empower us? This is possibly a nice lead into our second session, which is of interest, I'm sure, to all, but of particular interest to those with businesses as well. And I'm sure the principles reach those who do not have businesses as well. So our next speaker for tonight is Dr. Hilary Duckett, and her topic is going to be covering leading a 21st century business in a time of uncertainty. And uncertainty we definitely have in the world in many ways, shapes, and forms. So Dr. Hilary is there to guide us through it. So Dr. Hilary Duckett is a director of the Senior Leader Degree Apprenticeship at the University of Exeter Business School. She's an internationally experienced academic with a strong profile in portfolio development, innovation, and educational management. She is the director of the Senior Leader Degree Apprenticeship at Exeter University Business School and experienced in digital delivery and content development. She has a senior strategic and operational leadership skills, including the management of projects and interdisciplinary teams. She's delivered several funded research projects, including a management knowledge transfer partnership with a healthcare technology provider, a project supporting women entrepreneurs in the Philippines, and a project supporting women into senior leadership roles in Nigeria. She has held university-wide senior roles in program leadership, teaching, learning, and quality assurance. So similar to Tanya and Sammy, who you will hear from later, Dr. Hilary is an expert in her own field. Welcome, Dr. Hilary. I hand over to you.
Thanks very much. Well, my digital skills will be put to the test immediately as I try and share my material. So I am going to share my screen, and I'm going to do that from the beginning. Let's see if that works. Okay, share. Okay, so can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes,
I can.
Lovely.
Yes, you can see.
So Tanya's introduction was a really nice one for me, actually. So thank you very much for that, because Tanya's just been talking about a growth mindset, and I'm going to develop that a little bit as well. So the theme really is around financial management, financial resilience. But in order to enable financial resilience, if you're working with an organization or you're working with a team in an organization, you need to ensure the resilience of that team. So that's really what I'm going to be focusing on, is how you can build in that team resilience. And I will share with you at the end of the presentation a survey that you can use with your teams. So has that moved on to my agenda? I don't think it has yet.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so in terms of agenda, what I want to do is look at horizon scanning and why that's an essential part of the manager or leader's toolkit. Because in order to be resilient, you're not just looking internally at what's happening for you, you've got to be looking externally at what's happening in the environment as well. Then I'm going to move on to thinking about actually how can the concept of high performance working help to enable us to move forward and to develop. And then I'm going to look at how coaching can help build that resilience. So if I move on, can you see my third slide? Just double checking that slide. The 5 minds of a manager. This ties in nicely to.
Not yet, Hilary. Sorry, we're still on the agenda slide.
I'll try to do it this way. Does that work?
That's it. That works brilliantly.
All right.
Thank you.
I've got 2 screens on the go. So this ties in really nicely to Tanya's session, actually, because Tanya was talking about the growth mindset, and there was a really nice paper by Henry Mintzberg and Jonathan Gosling a couple of years ago, which looked at the mindset of managers. And the reflective mindset, the growth mindset, is kind of core to this, really. But the 5 minds of a manager includes managing yourself, So building in that personal resilience, managing organizations. So looking at things like the financial resilience, the economic performance of the business, looking at data which underpins how businesses are performing, but also looking at context. So in order to be a resilient individual and to plan for things like your financial future, you need to be horizon scanning. You need to be looking outside and seeing what's happening. So we'll look at that in a little while. It's also key to manage relationships as well. So that's the second part of what I'll look at today, is about high performance working and how you can manage the performance of teams so that they perform more effectively. And then engaging in change. So a key aspect of Tanya's presentation was this growth mindset, which is all about continuous learning and taking action in response to what you can see, both in terms of the environment and the challenges to 21st century business and organizations, but also individual challenges that you face yourself. So what is horizon scanning then? Well, it's this ability to look outside and to understand uncertainty and to analyze whether or not you're prepared to meet those uncertainties and you're prepared to act effectively to overcome those uncertainties. So again, in Tanya's piece, she was thinking about financial resilience there, wasn't she? And saying, actually, are you planning ahead? Are you looking at the future? Do you know what's coming? Do you have a sufficient saving scheme or an investment scheme to anticipate what's coming and to respond to it? Well, that's a really good example of horizon scanning, something you can do individually in terms of your own life and your own career development. But you can also do horizon scanning if you're leading an organization or you're developing a business or you're working as a manager within an organization. You can horizon scan to see what's coming at you from the outside so that you know what resilience to build in for yourself, but also for your team. So if we think about what horizon scanning involves then, it's being prepared to think about the external environment and what's happening around you in order to change your own mindset, being open to more possibilities. So everybody's talking about AI and the dangers that AI is raising and posing. But can we think about this in a positive way and think what opportunities exist in terms of the revolution of AI, and what opportunities does that present to me and to my business? So keeping an open mind, being curious, thinking about the trends that are coming and how you can mirror those trends, how you can develop your own skills and competencies so that you can take advantage of opportunities that are coming. Invite challenge. So, sometimes we are very reluctant to hear feedback because we think it can be damaging if it's things that we don't really want to hear. But actually, being open to challenge is a way of changing your behavior. It's a way of responding to things that perhaps you hadn't identified yourself. Create diverse teams, and we'll look at high performance teams in a little while. But then think about the impact of environmental changes that have for you and what you need to do about it. Get data about what's happening and information that will help you make the change, make the most appropriate change. And remember that uncertainty and risk opportunity are not the same thing. You can have uncertain things happening in the environment that you really can't control, but you can take control to an extent of risk and opportunity. You can balance risk. Tanya was talking about this. How do you balance your personal risk? How do you balance risk to your organization? And how do you capitalize then on the opportunities that may exist in that space? One really simple thing you can do is a SWOT analysis, and maybe some of you have already done this. You can do this at a personal level, but you can do it at an organizational level. So think about yourself in the sense of what are your personal strengths? What are you good at? What can you capitalize on? But then also listening to challenge, listening to feedback from others. What potentially are your weaknesses? What do you need to improve? What resources do you need to make things better? Do you need to undertake training courses? Do you need to build up this saving scheme? Do you need to invest differently? So what are the weaknesses? What are the threats? What's things that are holding you back? So what are these aspects of a negative mindset, perhaps, that are holding you back from doing things differently or making changes? And then where do the opportunities lie, both in your network, but also in the environmental change? Are there things that you can capitalize on that are changing in your work context, your personal context? They're going to help you go forward. And again, as Tanya said, it is all about a positive mindset. Now, this next slide is a little bit busy, but I thought I did look at this from the context of Nigeria. And I'll drop these slides into the chat at the end. So, I mean, there are weaknesses in terms of Nigeria and its current economic and contextual context. So, over-reliance on oil, there's a patronage system, which maybe needs to be challenged, high youth unemployment, as people have mentioned in the chat, rising inflation and the impact that has on people's income. So there are some weaknesses. There are also some threats. The whole oil industry is under challenge from newer, more greener forms of energy. So potentially that well stream may disappear in the future. So energy transitions, AI pressure generally around the world, which may exacerbate some aspects of unemployment. Currency depreciation in Nigeria is a threat to people's personal incomes, but also to business. And also environmental threats globally caused by climate change. But within that, there are also strengths. Nigeria has a massive population, for example, and it's growing, and that gives energy. It's got a youth population, so there is opportunity there for moving into new technologies, using this youth population and knowledge to innovate and to change. And increasingly middle-class professionalism across Nigeria, which lends itself to, them being interested in all kinds of services and businesses that you may develop expertise in. A wealth of natural resources and a growing international trade market across Africa and West Africa as well that could be taken advantage of. So where are you placed in relation to some of those strengths? And huge numbers of opportunities as well. So investing in leadership development, for example, would be a good use of that growing population, investing in this youth so they become the economic and political and social leaders of the future, diversifying the economy into perhaps more greener, more transitional energies and new technologies, capitalizing on that AI revolution, and higher spending as well with this increasingly middle-class professional population on things like health, education, all kinds of professional services too. So what opportunities might exist for you or for your business given those things? So it's just an example of how you might do a swap on your own regional or national context to see actually where does this lead me and where does this lead my business. So let's move on then to think about high-performing organizations. So high-performing organizations are characterized by clarity and coordination. So there's clarity about what needs to be done. So we've done the horizon scanning. We know what's coming. We've done a SWOT analysis. We've identified where our strengths and weaknesses are and opportunities and threats. So we know where we're going. And high-performing organizations then take initiative, take calculated risks, and move forward. And again, this can apply at an individual level. A high-performance individual does the same thing. So in terms of theory around high performance working, organizations that are high performing, individuals that are high performing, achieve higher financial and non-financial results that exceed their peers over a 5-year period or beyond. So if you can get it right and you can get characteristics in there which make you and your organization high performing in your team, then you can be capitalizing on massive success. But leadership behavior and management of teams is key to building that high performance. So your behaviors and your attitude as a leader, your mindset are key to making that high performance count for you. So in a sense, 5 things that high performing individuals or high performing teams do differently are these. They're not afraid to pick up the phone. We've become probably too bogged down with email correspondence and don't really engage in that face-to-face or that verbal conversation. So building relationships and investing time in that. They're more strategic with their meetings. So there's clear agenda and there's clear outputs and the tasks and responsibility and follow-ups. So being more strategic in planning the use of your time. They invest time bonding over things which are non-work related. So this is putting time into your social network. Your social network pays dividends, comes back to you and benefits you in all kinds of ways, but you need to put the time into building it. So high-performing individuals and high-performing teams give and receive appreciation more frequently and share credit. We've heard a lot of that culture here today. We've heard Hina, talking very complimentarily about people's skills and capabilities and thanking people. And we've heard from Waluche doing the same thing, and also Noella and all the leadership that she's given. So we've had lots of people today role modeling, giving that feedback and appreciation. And I think that's important, particularly for women. I think to build that confidence and to overcome imposter syndrome. So remember to do it, and remember when people give you positive feedback to take it graciously, because it's sometimes, oh, nothing, it was nothing, but thank them for it and remember to pass it on. High-performing people and teams are more authentic at work and will challenge. So you bring your real self, you bring your passion, you bring your values into the workplace, and you make things happen for positive reasons. But you're prepared to challenge where you see other people performing inauthentically, or not really operating from a values mindset. And high-performing individuals and teams deliver excellent results. So a lot of the research says over a 5-year period, you can see the difference in terms of financial and economic performance. High-performing teams outperform non-high-performing teams. So high performance is important, but actually coaching is really important in helping to build high-performing working. And Tanya again was talking about coaching as being an important aspect of understanding your own financial resilience too. So how coaching builds high performance then? You build high-performing teams and leaders. So that's about building positive relationships, having that positive mindset, collaborating, giving that positive affirmation and thanks and appreciation back to others, but having accountability and engaging in that collaborative problem solving. So not being afraid to challenge other people, but to encourage them to put forward ideas that are going to help more widely to achieve positive change. Coaching can enable strategy and change as well. So team coaching, in a way, can build a trust that people are then able to put their ideas forward without fear of the repercussions, without fear that they're going to be, in some way disciplined or in a difficult position because they've challenged an idea or put a problem forward. So enabling high-performing coaching can enable a team to achieve high levels of strategy and to be in a better position to change based on those positive relationships that are built across the team. Coaching can also increase team resilience because basically high performance working requires high levels of communication and constant communication and collaboration between people too. So there are lots of areas in which, as a team leader or as a member of a team, you can encourage people to be resilient through that collaboration and also through the feedback mechanisms. Coaching can help a team also to accelerate culture change. So you can do things like engage in continuous learning, continuous development. You can task people with being change agents. You can hold people account for innovation, or give people objectives around creating innovation. So coaching can be a really effective way at breaking down tasks into more bite-sized, achievable goals that can then accelerate that culture change. Also, coaching does create a ripple effect because the positive outcomes of engaging in this feedback loop and this collaboration with others and this encouragement to achieve change then comes back, so it has a multiplier effect. So it can really impact, more people are involved in coaching and team coaching and peer-to-peer coaching, the more you have this ripple effect and this kind of positive ripple of positive mindsets. In terms of what you might do, next steps in terms of building high performance working could be auditing your team. I'm going to drop into the chat a survey that you can complete, which helps you to evaluate how effective your team performance is. So, how trusting are people within the team? How engaged are people? How motivated? How clear are people's goals? How much communication is given by leaders or by you in terms of managing that team, and how effective is that? So it's a way of auditing the extent to which there are high performing characteristics applicable to your team. And obviously, once you've then audited it and identified, actually, we've got strengths in these areas, but we've perhaps got some development needs here. That's when you can do the targeted coaching, because you can say, actually, our team needs more support around communication, or our team needs more support around giving feedback to one another or collaborating more effectively. And then you can put into place targeted learning and development and targeted coaching in order to strengthen those characteristics of high performing working. So the key thing as part of your auditing of a process of resilience, if you like, and positive mindsets, these mindsets of effective leaders, is to evaluate, where you feel your team might need development and what your sort of top 4 priorities are. And then what you can do is engage someone to give some individual coaching or some team coaching in order to build higher performing organizations. So where is it that you need interventions around motivational techniques? Where is it that you might need interventions around reward and recognition? What steps need to be taken around communication to improve the performance of the team? So there are lots of things that you can do, both individually, but also if you're working in teams as a team leader or a member of a team, in order to focus around characteristics of high performing working. Coming soon at a later event, we're going to be talking about high performance coaching, specifically some tools and techniques that you can use. But for now, that is what I wanted to say. And what I'll do is I'll stop sharing and then look to see if there's any questions. And what I'll also do, I'm going to put in the chat the survey, which I alluded to. So it's going in the chat now.
Thank you, Dr. Hilary. Thank you so much for that. All absolutely valid points. And thank you also for sharing the survey. I think a lot of what you said resonated with me personally. I don't have my own business. I am employed, but all the points are so valid in terms of particularly having a very open feedback structure and also coaching with a very positive attitude. So nobody should feel a fear of repercussion. And I think those 2 elements for me personally really create an environment where you have a strong team around you and you can build a base around you, because that base is what is going to benefit you in the future. So invest the time now, reap the benefits in the future, and just lead from the front. I think that's essentially what we're saying, aren't we? Yeah. Lead from the front and lead the way you want to be led.
Yes. Yeah,
fantastic. So I think we have a couple of questions coming through, if that's okay, Dr. Hilary. So let's kick off with a very good question. This one I like. How do I know if my team is being authentic?
Yeah, thank you. This is an interesting one, because obviously there's a fine balance between challenge and disruption within the team. And often it's the case where you're inviting people to give feedback, you're inviting people to challenge things, but it might reach a tipping point where all you're getting is conflict and confrontation and too much competition between team members. So I think you've got to kind of step back from it and look again at what you're trying to achieve and say, are the behaviours that I'm seeing actually supportive of what we're trying to achieve and the goals of the organisation or the goals of the team? Or are they just continuously disrupting it? Are they the yes, but conversation? Oh, yes, we would, but there are all these problems. And so I think this is the skill of the effective coach, really, working in the team, is to be able to differentiate between those behaviours that are challenging but constructive, or challenging to the point where it causes conflict and is limiting and inhibiting the team. And I think that's a case of going back to the goals and the main objectives to say, actually, are these things helping, or do we need to sort of call time on that and then move on and move the team on with another intervention?
Yeah. So I think almost how you linked other aspects back to what Tanya had said earlier. This
Yeah.
also links back to pause, assess,
Yes.
monitor, reevaluate, and let's restart from there
Yes.
again. So build on it, but again, positively, and bring ourselves back into line if we feel we're going out of line, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. To our audience, if you have any other questions for Dr. Hilary, please do put them in the chat. And in the meantime, Dr. Hilary, I've got one more question for you, if that's okay. What is the difference between a challenge and a conflict in a team? And this probably touched on the little bit you said a bit earlier as well, didn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it did. A challenge, in terms of a growth mindset, a challenge is staying curious, and it's potentially getting a team or a group of individuals to think outside the box. So one problem is habitual behaviors, where we get into almost like a hamster wheel of
Yeah.
repeating the same behaviors. And sometimes they'll work for us, but sometimes they don't. But you don't necessarily recognize they're not working until it's too late. So a challenge can be quite useful because, particularly you notice this when new people join a team, because they'll say, oh, why do you do it like this? And then you have to stand back and say, yeah, why do we do it like that? Because we've always done it like that, but is that the only way?
Yes.
Or a challenge might be because I've worked at another organisation, they did it this way. That seemed to be more effective. Or I've seen in the press that this competitor product is coming onto the market. That might actually cause us. So challenge can be really constructive. And I think that's a positive thing, and it's important for leaders and managers to be open to that and to deal with that very positively and to see that as a benefit to the team. Conflict is that persistent causing of blockages and barriers, or deliberate kind of intention to cause disruption between members of a team. So it's not constructive. It doesn't actually have a positive outcome. So again, it's a case of sitting back, reflecting, and saying, actually, is this challenge stroke conflict beneficial? Is it offering something of value, or is it just damaging? And if it's damaging, it needs to be prevented. But if it's positive, it's a case for the group to reflect on and maybe make changes as in response to.
True, absolutely. And I suppose from the person who is posing that challenge or conflict, for them, they need to be able to articulate themselves well enough to put their point across so that it's viewed as a positive challenge and not as a conflict, I suppose.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Hilary, thank you so much. And can I please ask our listeners again, let's show our appreciation for Dr. Hilary. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Hilary. That was absolutely useful. And again, Dr. Hilary will be there to help answer any questions